is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year.
A given year. I knew you were going
We
to say
then
that.
discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm
And
Brad.
more. I'm Pete.
And I'm Gif.
Can somebody explain to me why Pete is doing that?
Because he's
it's
wacky.
Fun. It's fun.
What am I missing?
All
right,
it's a fun show. The
It
listeners
is
are
fun.
laughing.
This is going to be a fun one tonight.
hysterically at it.
We're getting back into music. I think some of our best work is when we talk about albums, right, guys?
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
our most popular downloads. Our most popular episodes are always the music ones.
Yes.
And
So this
probably
is gonna
because
really
we
take
also kind of stick more to a script with these, so maybe it's easier to listen to for the listener out there.
You could argue
They
we
love
get
when we
into
stick to the
we get into a
script.
rhythm.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Rhythm Nation.
Yes.
I thought we were doing Alan Jackson.
All right, so this is Second Chance Month, and we're going to go back to 1989 tonight. So I picked Batman back when we did 1989. I couldn't escape Batman. It was like the biggest movie. I couldn't wait to watch it. I knew it'd be fun to talk about. But when I was doing my thinking about what to pick, and when I was deciding on what to pick, I nearly picked Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation 1814.
It's a little bit of a surprise pick.
I think so. Most people
You
probably
know.
say that. So let me tell you why, Pete.
Why, Brad?
So first of all, I got a CD player in, I think, Christmas of 1990, maybe. I'm not exactly sure.
Must be nice.
But I also had NBC.
Wow.
Ooh, la-di-da.
But the first CD that I ever bought, and actually I think I bought two at a time. It was when I joined the whole BMG thing. You know, you get a couple and you get going there. But my memory is that I bought this CD, was the first CD I ever bought, was the Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation. Along with, I've mentioned it before, either of you remember what my other one is? Little trivia.
Oh, give us a hint.
It's a greatest hits album.
It's a greatest hits
By-
album. Eagles.
That was an early one, though. I got that early.
It's so good. It was a good pick or a good guess.
It was a good guess.
I
Alabama.
don't know, Brad. Alabama greatest hits.
No, it was Journey.
Journey.
Don't
Good
Stop Believing.
I won't.
All right, so considering this is the first CD that I ever bought, I thought, well, that's a good reason to pick this because that's what we do here. We go back to stuff that was important to us and that we remembered and really loved. And I did love this, and I still do. And it had been kind of on the shelf for probably 3 decades. But when I was going to pick it for 1989, so about 2 years ago, even though we didn't talk about it, I did go back and listen to it again and realized how awesome it is and how I still love it. And I did some reading on it and realized how, huge and massive this album is and was. And so when we started the Second Chance Month, it kind of remained in my memory there. And I thought, hey, let's go back and do it again. So that's why I picked it as the overall reason for me personally.
Sure.
I did also have the Control CD. I bought that one probably right after. But in the 80s, Janet was somebody that I did like. Obviously I turned to grunge and alternative in the 90s, and that became like my thing. But growing up, we were in middle school in the 80s, and
Pre-grunge Brad is what we're talking
we only
about.
had really one radio station, and it was pop. So I mean, we listened to everything.
KKCK.
And I loved a
Well-
lot of it. And the song "Miss You Much" was the first single that came out. And when that song came out, I mean, everybody loved that.
I want to correct you on one thing you got wrong. In the early days, we had 2 radio stations because KISD Pipestone
Pipestone.
was
Oh, at one
also,
time it did, yeah.
before it became an oldies station, it was the other pop.
You are correct.
Pop station.
Yep,
There you go.
So there was a time. But then another reason why this album I thought fit in with us here. So it was recorded in Minnesota. It was produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Jimmy Jam.
I said at the beginning of this, Minneapolis. She shouts out Minneapolis in the song Escapade. I'm like, so this has a connection that we all love here. We're very territorial. We love Minnesota. So
Jimmy
that's another
Jam
reason.
Can I stop you there for a second? I got a Jimmy Jam story. He pointed to me and Jenny once.
Jesus.
Is that a story? That's a story. It's a story.
That's the
Well,
thing.
maybe can you tell us
Just-
why?
we were working as Super Bowl volunteers, and he was on stage. They're doing a thing on stage, and Jimmy Jam was on stage, and in the microphone he said, "How about a shout out, a thank you to all the people in the blue jackets that are volunteering for the Super Bowl?" And he points to me and Jenny as he says it.
Wow. So this wasn't that long ago then.
Correct. This is Super Bowl 52.
All
5
right,
years
well,
ago,
so
maybe?
I've got a lot of other reasons why I picked this, the nuts and bolts of this album and just how massive it was. But before I get into that, how about I turn it over to you two and what do you remember? Because I know you were fans too. What do you remember
Yeah.
about this album? What do you what's your initial response when I picked it?
I don't have a ton of memories of the album itself, but about half of the album is well known because it's like how many big hits actually came off of it. I didn't count
7 top 5 singles,
seven.
a
Yeah,
record.
so there you go.
More than
And so
Thriller.
you know almost the whole album anyway. And so yeah, it was always fun to listen to, and it was played at the fun parts of the high school or the middle school dances and such like that. But I didn't actually like own the album. I'd never actually until this like sat and just listened to the album by itself. So I can't say I've got like memories of the album itself. But it was always good. The music
Gif.
itself. Go ahead, Gif.
What I remember of this album is that this was one that I believe I bought from Brad.
Oh, you did? Really?
I think you've said that before.
You still have it?
I didn't find it in my stack, but I'm pretty sure I still have it. BMG was like Brad's music grab to me.
I sold so many CDs, and
Yeah.
usually to the store, but I guess you got some too, huh?
I think I maybe got like 10.
Brad's hand-me-downs.
Yes, sloppy seconds is what we called it, Pete. So this was one that I did get from you, and of course we
What a
all
great tie-in.
know, we know the great singles off of this record, and so many great songs. The videos are fun.
Oh, yeah.
Went through and watched the
Specifically
videos.
one of them.
Yeah, well, more than one.
And but I'll talk a lot. When we get to Love Will Never Do, that might take about half of this episode.
Well, and when I was listening to the album the first time through in preparation for this, Courtney was like, when you get to Love Will Never Do, we need to watch that video together.
Oh, because
So-
it's good for boys and girls.
Oh, it certainly is. Yes. Yes. So we did watch that video as well. So it's just so much fun. It's such a fun pop album. I mean, some of the songs, it gets a little more into the social messaging.
Well, yeah, it's not
sure,
just fun. It's the social aspect that makes it
Yep.
take another level too.
for sure. And that's what she was going for. I mean, this was her fourth album, studio album. So she was, wanting to get into a little bit more of the social aspect. But yeah, it was, like you guys said, we're in middle school. Everything hits a little harder when you're in middle school, I think, is a more impressionable young person.
Especially
So
the bullies that I had.
Well, and this spanned into middle and high school for us too, because it was on the charts for 3 years, which I'll get to in a second.
yes, it was. Go.
Okay,
That's
well,
pretty
so-
much it for me.
So this is the only album in the history to have 7 Billboard Hot 100 singles to reach the top 5. That is
Did
more
we-
than Thriller. It's like the female version of Thriller by, obviously his sister and everything.
How about
Did we not
Thriller's
bring
the
this
male
up in
version of
the
Rhythm Nation?
Hysteria on the Hysteria episode? Sorry, I cut you off there. But it was like Hysteria had a lot of
Yeah.
hit
Well, they were
songs.
trying to be Thriller too,
right.
but the
Yeah,
rock
yeah.
version of it. What
Correct.
gift?
I was saying, why can't Thriller be the male version of Rhythm Nation?
Well, it kind of is because it came first, so.
That's fair. That's fair.
So not only did it have 7 top 5 singles, it also was the first album at the time to produce #1 hits in 3 separate calendar years. Miss You Much,
Oof.
first single, was #1 in 1989. Escapade and Black Cat were #1 in 1990. And all the way into 1991, Love Will Never Do hit #1 early in that year. So, but to me, I feel like this album is somewhat forgotten. when you hear those numbers, it's like, how is this not talked about on that same level as some of those other big, huge ones? And I don't feel like it is. And so that's another reason why I wanted to talk about it to,
Sure.
for our tens of listeners to hopefully remind them of what it is and maybe go listen.
Well, you might want to also add in there that Janet was the first Grammy-nominated woman to be a producer for Record of the Year, or Producer of the Year.
I did not have that note down.
Yeah. So, I mean, not only did she do it great behind or in front of the mic, but as well as the producing aspect of this album. So it's not that she was just handed the songs and told to, sing pretty. She was a producer on the album as well. And in 2021, this was also inducted into the Library of Congress.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to get to next here. So
Took
her
a while.
her
That's
handwritten
high
lyrics
praise.
to the title track Rhythm Nation. And then it's got this militaristic vibe and video. Those are all preserved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And as you said, it's been added to the National Recording Registry in the Library of Congress, who deemed it culturally, historically, and artistically significant. Also said it was a significant piece of Black feminist cultural production that pioneered new modes of using popular music to convey socio-cultural commentary to a larger mainstream audience. Because it is a dance pop album and it's got things you love to hear, but within that it has these messages, and it was able to get that out to a much different audience than other albums of its kind would have done before.
Right.
What, Giff?
Well, and the other thing is, when you talk about an artist and they talk about their influences, this album influenced so many new musicians further down the line. Like, this is a touchstone album for so many artists.
And so am I wrong? Do you guys feel like this album is considered and remembered the way like Thriller is? And
no,
Yeah,
it's not even close to that.
No,
It's
you're
crazy.
not wrong. And here's what I'll have to say is so good about Janet is that you listen to it and she's not. I mean, she's obviously Michael's brother, but it's not like she's riding in on his on his tail or anything like that. She's not famous because of her brother. She is that good in her own right.
Yeah, exactly. And she was already a star before this came out, and she used this as a chance to build on that.
Yeah, it's not like this is her debut album where she came out. I mean, this is, a no sophomore slump. This is fourth album, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
After Control was,
And Control was
absolutely
huge.
massive.
Yeah,
Huge.
that was huge.
They wanted to make a Control 2. It was so big. That's what they were looking for with this fourth album. But she wanted to go a different direction and make her own, her kind of change course a little bit with the social aspect of the songs. And it obviously proved to be great for her. I mean,
So that ties into my last note here before we get into the songs. So she was influenced by artists like U2 and Tracy Chapman, who had been very influential socially, but the audience they reached was more adults, obviously. It was an older type of music for adults. And so she wanted to reach, like teens and that younger audience and make them more socially aware. And obviously her music mixes that dance and that pop feel, but with those things. And then this military like vibe she gave it too really helped kind of send the message visually. And like you said, Giff, the videos were big too. This is a time where videos were big and could have a big impact on how your music was, perceived and marketed. And I was looking at this, like Beyonce just recently had, albums similar to this, and she's had like this military type vibe in one of her albums. This is like Beyonce, who everybody thinks is amazing and loves, but like 30 years ago, like she had this going way before that. Beyonce before Beyonce is what I wrote down.
well, and you talk about the video aspect of it. They made a 30-minute long form music video.
Rhythm Nation.
To promote the album. I mean, so videos were absolutely huge.
Well, of course, that worked for Thriller pretty much.
That's similar in that way. A big movie made about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've made our point. It's a great album. It's worth talking about. It's worth revisiting. And so let's get into the songs. You ready?
Let's do it.
That's
Hey,
Tone Loc.
one thing I
Oh,
would like
damn.
to point out, Brad, you said there were 7 top 5 singles off of this album.
Correct.
Do you know why it's top 5? Because only one of those top 5s made number 4. The other 6 were top 1 or 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, I mean,
It's amazing.
it's not like they eked into the top 5. They were 1 or 2 or then
And
one
so-
number 4
And this album came out in 1989, but later in the year. So it was big on the
Mhm.
chart in 89, but it was the number 1 album of 1990.
across the board.
And it was
Yep.
still in the top 50 of the albums in 1991.
Yeah.
So for 3 years, it was in the top 50 and totally dominated the year of 1990.
Well, and it hit so many charts because it was hitting the hip hop chart, it was hitting the pop chart. I think a couple of the songs were adult contemporary, almost
Well, and
like
Black Cat won a rock Grammy.
right. So I mean, it hit so many different genres of music all off the same album.
Yeah, good for you, Janet. Way to go.
Yeah.
All right, so if you look at the song list, you'll see 20 songs. It's not going to take us that long to go through these. There's actually 12 songs on this album. There are 8 interludes that have titles. Some are as short as 4 or 5 seconds. Others are like
Mhm.
20 to 30 seconds. And so we'll just kind of brush through some of those, but some of them have like something to say. So the very first one is called The Pledge. The first interlude is called The Pledge. I'll just read it because this one does have a few lyrics, but it's pretty short. So she starts, her pledge to start the album is, "We are a nation with no geographic boundaries, bound together through our beliefs. We are like-minded individuals sharing a common vision, pushing toward a world rid of color lines. Music, poetry, dance, unity. Music, poetry, dance, unity. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One.
And I love that. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is so awesome. It just kicks it off.
It does.
And it goes from there right into Rhythm Nation as the first.
It's
first
perfect.
song. So Rhythm Nation has that, that military type vibe to it, where it has the chant, "We are a part of the Rhythm Nation." The video, she's, what made Love Will Never Do interesting, which we'll get to, is Janet usually is fully clothed with a lot of stuff on. And that's what you have in this one. But it gives you the vibe she's going for right away. I think it's a great opening song. What did you guys think of Rhythm Nation?
Well,
Well,
this is
again,
the one that. Go ahead, Gifford. I'll let you
again,
talk.
just to follow up what Brad said, very industrial and militaristic imagery with the black and white in the video. A lot of black and white
yeah.
in all of these videos. The thing that I love about Rhythm Nation is that little scream in the beat that repeats over and over and over again. I don't know if it would be a scream or like a high pitched coo, but it's a
High-pitched
High
coo.
pitch.
a high pitched
High-pitched.
coo. But I just love that how it repeats the whole time, like like that little part that goes.
Oh yeah. She's really
How's
good
that
at
again?
making noises. I wrote that down on some other songs where just the noises she makes sometimes are they add to it, and sometimes they're just really cute too. Like they just fit in.
Shows her range.
depending
shows her
on the song.
vocals.
Yep.
Um,
Go ahead, Pete.
Pete,
I had that this song is infectious and iconic, and it combines captivating beats with socially aware lyrics. That was my notes on it.
wow,
Excellent.
very
Where'd
good.
you copy that?
And I
from?
like I wrote down one lyric on this. With music by our side to break the color lines. That's the one that stood out. But to me, it stands out because it's the first song and it shows the mix of what she's going for here.
Mhm.
Music combined with making change. That's what this is all
Yep.
about. And so that's the line that stood out to me.
Yep.
Okay. We then have another interlude called TV, which is just a couple news clips of some social issues to quick. And that goes into the song State of the World. So State of the World is got lyrics that follow the lead of that interlude. Like a lot of the lyrics are about like issues and problems in the world. I wrote down there's drugs, crime, homelessness, and neglected kids. That's kind of some of the main stuff. This is a song, it sounds like, I don't know if I wrote this down or if I read this, credit if I did. It kind of tries to make sounds like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
Mm-hmm.
This is another great song, I think. It has the serious themes in it, but it's also very catchy and danceable at the same time. And if it is supposed to be kind of like an updated version of What's Going On, it's an excellent version of that.
Sure.
Yep, kind of a blend of funk and pop is what I had written down.
Nice.
So pretty close to what you said. Good,
Gif, any comments on State of the
I
World?
just had, kind of depressing lyrics, social strife, drugs, violence, hunger, trying to make people aware of what's going on out in the world.
Okay, that brings us to our next interlude, which is called Race. It's only 4 seconds long. It says, "We are in a race between education and catastrophe." Okay, that brings us to The Knowledge, which is the third song. It's number 6 in the track list, but it's the third song. This is the point where, okay, so there's really good messages in here too. This one I don't find as catchy as the previous 2 songs. But I could see how if you're throwing this album in, you could be starting to get a little bored with the social, it's 3
Preachiness.
songs, a little bit of preachy maybe at the beginning. But again, and I'll get to this in a second, she times it well. So this is my least favorite of the first 3 songs, but it continues with that theme of, making change and everything. Any comments on The Knowledge?
I just
Nope.
had, the overall message that, knowledge is power. Stay in school and off the drugs was
education.
basically the
Yep.
theme. And I just kept looking at it as, another missed message that didn't come to pass, as we have, a lot of, ill-informed people in the world today. And,
Yeah,
so
lack of education.
Really?
Unfortunately, it, didn't have the hold that it needed to.
So it's at this point where the album is really front loaded with the social stuff. And I read one thing that said that the fact that they recorded it in Minneapolis really helped out, because if they had been in LA, there probably would have been a lot more interference by record companies and saying, we don't really like the way you're going with this. This is not going to sell. It's too much. But by recording it in Minneapolis, they were kind of hidden from that and were able to do what she wanted to do. So that helped. But you get to this point where I said, okay, well, maybe I'm getting tired of hearing, because even though they're all good messages, it's okay, is every single song going to be about these messages? So interlude 7 is called Let's Dance, and it ends with, get the point? Good. Okay, I'm done. I've told you what I want you to know. Let's go have some fun now. And so she gets it. She goes into the dance part now. And so that's smart, I think.
Well, one comment I had was that most albums, and we talked about this, has 7 top 5 hits on it. Most albums would put their big hitters at the front of the lineup, right? And so, but this one spreads them out differently than I think
it does.
A lot of albums would. And so, like you said, it gets a little boring. It starts to get a little dry and boring on The Knowledge, but then it picks up. And so that's why the album itself kind of keeps your interest the whole thing, and doesn't really taper off at the end.
Yeah. So the next song then is Miss You Much, which was the first single, which is just a freaking banger. In case you were tuning out, this is the turning point of the album, and she basically uses her own words to say it. This is a dance album after all. I think this is just an amazing song. I love it. It was the most successful single of them all. The black and white video is part of that long form video that you brought up, Gifford. And I love everything about this song. And I love how she spells out Miss M-I-S-S you much. And then how she says, that's the end. I just love it. It's such a great song. All the way right to that very last note right there.
Very catchy.
Yeah, I watched the video for this. I've never had that much fun in a pool hall. And the one thing I would say that was not positive about the song, again, I literally wrote down banger. I love this song, but it's a little light on the lyrics. And I went back to thinking about when we covered New Kids on the Block and My Favorite Girl, how it's just the same repeated, and it's just, Miss You Much.
Yeah, but who cares? It's a fun song to dance.
It's just a dance song, so
it is a dance song.
Totally fun.
That's good. Now that you bring it up, it really does repeat the same stuff over and over, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
But that's catchy, right? It's a dance.
It is catchy.
Song. It's not a ballad. It's a poppy dance song. So
it does what it's intended to do.
That's correct.
All right. Number 9 is the next interlude. Every single song, every other song is an interlude at this point. This is just a short instrumental. It's called Comeback. I have nothing on that one. But that brings us to, for me, middle of the album, number 10, Love Will Never Do Without You. This is my favorite song and one of my favorite videos of all time. You already brought that up with Courtney. There's so much I have here. So first of all, her voice is different. And from the first verse to the second verse, she changes her voice. It almost doesn't sound like her at first, but it's great. This is where I wrote down little sounds that she makes, like you brought up, Gifford. And like there's like giggles and there's what in there, all this little stuff. You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of the video version of Sandy from LA Story. This bubbly, just having fun, you know, Sarah Jessica Parker's character, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. To me, that's a connection I made. It had that feel. She was the most fun character, and I love her, and that's what this song brought me to. This was the last single, the 7th one. It reached number 1 in 1991, so what a great way to close this out. And then the rest of my notes are about the video. Do you guys want to say something about the song first?
I just said it's a good smooching song.
They all are.
Good smooching song.
They all are if you do it right.
Pete?
No, I just had it. It's another one that just shows her vocal range is what I had written down. And again, this one is also kind of a blend of R&B and pop.
Yep.
Okay. So in this video, it's her, and she's wearing like a bikini top and not a lot of clothes. But there's also these two guys, and they're actually well-known people. Jimon Honsu, I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, but he went on to be like an Academy Award winning or nominated actor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he won, but he was nominated for Amistad. And Antonio Sabato Jr., who I've heard of, they were models, but these are like people you actually know. They're not wearing anything, and yeah, if you're a girl or if you're a
gay human
man,
being,
go on.
Yeah, I'm not gay, but they look amazing.
Holy cow!
I wasn't, but I am now.
It's like Ralph Wiggum when Bart goes by. I like more men now.
I like men now.
But it kind of hints at her next phase, because there's the very famous magazine cover where she's got her arms up and there's the guy behind her with her hands on her chest.
Yes.
And she's she starts to play that more, but to this point she hadn't done that at all. And this video is a big departure from the elaborate dance productions that she had done. It focuses on her alone. The description I found is she is fresh, sensual, womanly, and vulnerable as she reveals herself to the camera. It gives us a new, intimate, personal side of Janet that we didn't know. And she was all in favor of it. She's like, I want to do something different. She said, I've never worn anything that small in my life. I didn't have a bra on. It's got this black and white video again. It's this glimmering contrast video. The guy that made the video was specifically calibrated to the fashion spread specifications. The director, actually, his name was Herb Ritz, who frequently photographed supermodels. And it's just amazing. I consider this the perfect music video, perfect in every way. And when I watched it on YouTube, the first comment down there below it was, I don't think anyone has ever looked as good as Janet does in this video. And the next comment was something too. And it's not just looks. It's not just about sexualizing her. It's more than that. But and it's the men too. It's just beautiful. It's kind of like saying in 1989, the Chris Isaak video came out. I mean, this is kind of a faster, more upbeat version of that almost. It's so fun.
I just have a comment that I want to make for our listeners that cannot see that we're on camera here. Thank you, Gifford, for wearing the exact same outfit. For sure.
You're welcome. Yes. No shirt. That's the outfit.
The smallest.
Or are you talking about what Janet was wearing?
Yeah, you're wearing what Janet was wearing. Yes.
Gotcha. Yes. Yep. Well, and
so you watched the video. Go ahead, Jeff.
This video was the first video as far as in line of the songs on the album that had color in it. Everything else leading up to this was all black and white.
I thought this was black and white.
This one has black and white, but it also has intermix of color
Oh,
photography
I
in
guess
it
I
as
didn't
well.
even notice.
Like Wizard
Yeah.
of Oz.
There you go. It was mostly black and white, but they started bringing color into the videos. So as you went through the album, now we've got All Right has, that's
Oh yeah,
all in
that's a cool
color.
video too. We'll get to that in a minute.
So they're starting to bring a little bit, like you said, it's a little more intimate, a little more revealing of her personally, and they start bringing color into the videos at this point.
between this song and this video, I think it's my favorite video maybe of all time. It's just so well done. I mean, I'm just trying to think of, like, what other videos do I love? I mean, there's not that many I can name off the top of my head. It's like, there's some good ones, but
You know what one I keep going back to over and over on YouTube, and I almost watched it again yesterday, getting ready for this, is the Freedom video from George Michael.
That's a good one.
Absolutely, and it's not all
same time
about
frame.
it's not all about the supermodels. Obviously, that doesn't hurt, but it's the lip syncing and it's the jukebox exploding, and I mean,
That's a
it's
good
just
one.
such a great video and such a great song. So,
Mhm.
yeah, but I would agree with you on the Chris Isaak aspect with the black and white, a lot of sand.
Beach. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So very, very good analogy there.
All right.
comparison.
Anything else, Pete?
No, I've got nothing else to add.
All right. So we're halfway through the album there, at least song number 10, and it's such a high point to me.
Mhm.
This is the next song is the first one that doesn't have an interlude. So we go straight from that to Living in a World They Didn't Make. And I feel like this is a really pretty song, and it's a good slowdown at this point because you just had some, I Miss You Much, and those are some pretty high level, awesome songs. So we talked sometimes about the sequencing of albums, and I think this is a case where up to this point, I mean, this is really good, and this is a good placement for this song. It's back to kind of the social issues. This song was a reaction to a school shooting. There's even a news clip of it included at the end. But it feels like the time is right, and it's just a really pretty, nice song, and it's a nice take you down from the high points we just had.
Yeah. Be a better example for our kids is basically the message for this. They don't get to make the rules. Adults are in charge, but they break all the rules. Just be better for the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
And I was surprised this one wasn't a single because I felt like I remembered this one like pretty well, but this one was not on the list of singles. So, all right, the next one, there is no interlude again. The next one was a single, the song "All Right," and this one is a fun song. Another fun video.
Now we're
The
gonna have a
video
little
for
fun.
this one had a 1940s setting. They're wearing zoot suits and they're meeting like Cab Calloway and people from that time.
Mhm.
And again, I mean, she's completely dressed up in a suit, top to bottom. So it's completely different from Love Will Never Do. But it's just a fun video of them dancing around and incorporating time periods.
Yep.
And it's a fun song.
Is Heavy D in this one too?
I don't know if Heavy D's in
I
it.
found a note that it features.
He may
Heavy
have
D.
been. There's a lot of people on screen
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
throughout this whole
You
video.
mean in the video or on the song?
On the song.
Maybe there was a remix or something with him too. I'm not sure.
For those who don't know, Brad mentioned Cab Calloway. He was a famous jazz singer that performed at the Cotton Club in Harlem in the 30s and 40s. And I believe this was his last on-screen performance
Oh yeah.
before his death. He died, I believe, in 94. But fun to see him in there. And then this song also samples Think by Lynn Collins and Do You Like It by BT Express.
There you go.
But yeah, fun song, fun video. I just like the costumes in it with the zoot suits, as Brad said.
This is the one that I don't really remember that well. I mean, I remember the song,
Yep.
but I felt like this song actually came on a later album. Like just in my mind, I remember this being from somewhere else. So including that on this album too just made it even better. Like this is a really good song.
Featuring Heavy D.
Oh, look at that. And the boys.
Nice work.
Well, it might have been a later version of it too, because this
Yeah, I bet it
video
was
that
a
I
remix
found.
version
So
or
maybe
something.
he came onto it later. But as I was researching it, that's what I found, that he was featured on the song at some
Good
point.
job, Pete.
Thank you. I was not totally wrong.
Way to check your sources.
After
All
I
right. Now we're back to
Stated
the
as fact.
interludes. This one is called "Hey Baby," and this is
Hey
just
Baby.
Janet acting silly. Somebody's
Flirtatious.
recording her, and she's making noises, and then it goes edit, and it comes into
Escapade.
maybe one of your favorite songs. This would be right up there with the others for me. Escapade, another favorite. This is like one of those ultimate weekend Friday songs. Like, we're gonna go have fun, and it's like you could listen to Loverboy or you could listen to this. They're
This
great.
is my second favorite song on the entire album.
Oh, what was your favorite? Did you say
I
it yet?
haven't gotten to it.
Oh,
I haven't gotten
okay.
to it.
All right. All right. Any notes you have on Escapade other than that she says Minneapolis and so we love it?
For me, this is I have a hard time determining whether this is my favorite song or Love Will Never Do. I go back and forth there of
Yeah.
and
I
a
honestly,
1
if
and a
I-
1A.
I could say both. You're right.
But yeah, it's just a fun, time to cut loose song. I like, they're showing, all the cultures together in this, kind of street parade dance, kind of talking, showing the message that we heard at the beginning of the album with the pledge. So yeah, it was just and it's such a fun song. I love the Minneapolis. I love the come on. That's always
yeah. There's
awesome.
another one.
Yeah,
How's that
it's
again?
great.
I did find it interesting because where did you must have watched a video?
Yeah.
Where's the video for this? It's set in some different place, isn't it?
Oh, I guess I didn't look up where the video.
Because what I
I'll
noticed is
find it here.
you still hear her yell Minneapolis, but it it's so like out of place with where the video is set. And as I was watching, and I'm like, did they cut it out maybe? But it's in there.
Oh yeah, it was filmed in the very exotic back lot of Universal Studios Hollywood.
Okay. Well, I think there was something else going on, but
I'd like to
They really
encourage them
transport
to
you to like Istanbul or something.
Barbados. They should do
Yeah,
it in
or Barbados. We're
Yes.
big fans here.
Another shout out to our listeners in Barbados.
yes. We then have another interlude. It's called No Acid. It's only 5 seconds long. And that brings us to Black Cat, which
Drugs
is
are bad. Oh, never mind.
a genuine rock song. And it's a warning to a bad boyfriend. This song was nominated, like I said earlier, for a Grammy for the Best Female Rock Vocal Performance. So even though it's a dance album, it's a Jackson album, the song was considered rock and was considered high on the list of rock songs from the year. She's the only artist to be nominated in 5 different genres: R&B, pop, rap, dance, and rock. So there's just another thing about Janet Jackson.
She should go for country.
It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was the 3rd single to achieve that status. And I do like this song. It's not my favorite, but I like how she changes voices and can switch. Like, she can change the genre and then match her voice and her attitude to that genre. And that's just so impressive. And so 5 different genres. That's amazing.
Kind of disappointed you said it's not your favorite, because it is my favorite.
Well, I assumed it was
on the
going to be
album.
based on
This
what
is
was
the
left.
one. Yeah. I absolutely love this one because it just does have such a great rock sound to it. And it's a lot of fun. You can just, and it stands out from the rest of the album. I don't know. I just love it. It is my favorite.
Good
So
for you.
screw you.
Yeah, and
I like the song. Jesus.
Yeah, I like the departure. I like it going, with the rock and the guitar cooking in there. I would probably put it as my 4th favorite on the album. So
I'd go lower.
definitely a fun song, good song. So I'm not all the way there with you, Pete, but yeah, a lot of fun.
But see, and I'd put it lower, but that doesn't mean it's bad because
No.
I mean, I would put Escapade, Miss You Much, Rhythm Nation, Love Will Never Do, for sure, all of those ahead of it. Maybe State of the World, but that's because those songs are just so freaking awesome. So
Sure.
All right.
No wrong answers here.
Yeah. The next song is called Lonely, which is very opposite of Black Cat, which was a warning to a bad boyfriend. This one's about being there for someone, so it's kind of a 180 as far as like theme and tone. I wrote it's okay. I think it's a good timing for it because it's good timing. It's a little slow and it fits after the fast songs that we just heard. So I like the sequencing of this album a lot up to this point.
Mhm.
But the song itself I don't love, but it fits where it's at. So that's
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, and I think it ties into the social awareness aspect, maybe, looking for people
Interesting.
that, may have depression, are alone, just
Oh, yeah.
looking for, and
Connection.
kind of
connection.
putting connection out there, and don't feel like you don't have anybody. There are people out there for you. So I think it kind of fits into the whole message of the album.
If you're listening to this podcast and you need to connect with somebody, reach out on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be there for you.
We are there for you.
You could do it on Instagram or Facebook too,
That's right.
but not TikTok because we got banned for no good reason.
Right. Yeah. Don't look for us on TikTok.
All right, that brings us to "Come Back to Me," which was the 5th single and another This was a top 3 song. This is one of the only real ballads on the album. It's a slow song, or it's the only one that I take that back. It's the only ballad released as a single. There's some other slow songs like it on the album, but this is the one as a single that was released. This is another really good song. Nothing against it. She's asking for a second chance, and it's pretty.
This to me is boilerplate album creating. You need to have the lost love, mournful comeback ballad song. So I mean, I was not my favorite by any means.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But
Good
gotta
song.
have it on the album type deal.
Seems like you should switch around "Lonely" and "Come Back to Me" in order.
Yeah, maybe that's why you're lonely. You don't
That's
hold
why
on
I'm
anymore.
lonely,
Come on
yeah.
now. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I get lonely first, and then
Mhm.
I'm begging for them to
Yeah.
come back to me. I get it now. Okay.
Pete's on it.
Do you have anything else to add to that, Pete?
No, that was the best I had.
Okay. I kind of feel like this is where the album should have wound down. There's one more song called "Someday Is Tonight." So it's 3 slow songs in a row here. So while I liked the sequencing up kind of through the last song, or at least the one before it, this is where like I probably would shut it off by this point. I feel like with the big intro to this album and all the social issues and all the military sound, the kick yourself in the ass stuff, it's kind of
Yourself in the ass.
leaves on a whimper.
Kick
And-
yourself in the ass. All right.
You got to edit that out too.
No, that's
Kiss
funny.
his ass.
That's
Kiss
funny.
my
I feel
ass.
like the album needs some kind of a kick at the end. Maybe Black Cat should have been at the end. I don't know.
Right.
It does return to the social issues, but the feeling of the song, and it's 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
I got tuned out on this one. I mean, I was done. So.
I got 5 words to describe this song. Bounce chicka wow wow. Like this is the Making Whoopee song. This is the one you put on. And to be honest with you, I agree 6 minutes is too long because I mean I usually don't last that. So
yeah.
could have made it about 2.5.
Interlude.
Yeah, we would have been good.
Gifford made it through the interlude, and that was it.
The 5-second interlude.
Ah,
Were you done?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's
that
what she
quick,
said.
Brad. I'm done.
It was. It caught me off guard. Like, wait a minute. I thought you were in the middle of saying something.
Always.
I thought you were going to say something a little more too about it. Like I said
Okay.
earlier, Gifford.
So then it does end with one last interlude calling "Living in Complete Darkness," and it's a nice reprise of "Live in a World They Didn't Make."
Mhm.
So it is kind of a nice ending to tie some of these themes together. But I feel like
ties in the knowledge. Get smart, be smart.
it's just kind of leaves on a whimper, though. I feel like it needed something stronger at the end of the album. And so anyway, I love the album. I love it all the way through pretty much. But this last 2 to 3 songs just kind of, I'm ready to move on now.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you've got, 10 to 11 just absolutely great songs in a row and 7 top 5 singles, I think you've done a pretty good job. And you can have one at the end that, bores you. You're free to do what you want. Okay, so do you have any final thoughts on Rhythm Nation? Did you
Great
enjoy
pick.
revisiting?
I enjoyed it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's got, like you said, it's got so many, bangers on it. Top, number one songs, number two songs. Takes you back to that time in your life, middle school, a lot of fun.
But the songs are still like relevant and good too. So that's
they
that's what's
seem
great.
like songs that could still be released today.
Oh yeah, Love Will Never Do could easily be a hit right now. Why not?
Right. I mean, the sound is just so good, and it's time. I would describe it as timeless.
There you go. All right. Well, so this was like one of the last giant albums released in the 80s. And so technically it was number one of 1990, but this is a 1989 album. It closed out the decade. And so what I came up with for tonight is I thought we should draft our top albums of the 80s, because we've talked about several of these on this show. You can go back and listen to the Joshua Tree and Hysteria, Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever. We've talked about, 4 or 5 different great 80s albums on this show. And so we're going to draft our favorites and see what we end up with.
Sounds fun. I am.
So I'm going to go first because this is my night. It sounds like Pete's going to go second and Gift third.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think you know what I'm going to pick first. It's my favorite album of all time. And it's one that we talked about. I just mentioned it. U2, The Joshua Tree.
I knew
that. I would never pick anything other than that. So that's my number one choice.
Nice.
All right. At number 2, I am going to go with Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
That's a big one.
That's huge. Great pick, Pete.
Thank you.
I am going to take the album we talked about in 1987. I'm taking Def Leppard's Hysteria.
That makes sense for you. Okay, so that means... Oh, this is working out just perfectly. So I can pick maybe my second favorite album of the 80s by a band who was huge and should be bigger still now than they are. INXS, Kick.
Mm-hmm.
That's my next choice.
I didn't put either of those on my list.
You're so kind. But you wouldn't have picked them by now anyway.
I wouldn't have. Hysteria. I was picking Hysteria number one.
So I'm good here no matter what.
And if Pete picked Hysteria, I was going with his number one overall pick. So.
Well, that's true. Pete could have picked it.
Right.
All right. Is it my pick now?
You got it.
Just barely making the 80s. Released in 1980. I am going with Back in Black, AC/DC.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm not farting around.
You got some good rockers there, Pete.
Yes, you do.
That's going to appeal to an audience.
Speaking about appealing to an audience, I'm just going to go ahead and take 1982's Thriller off the board.
There you go. Okay. So 2 weeks ago we had the Surely You Can't Be Serious guys on here. And I listened to, a buttload of their episodes. Mm-hmm. But in one of them, they compared INXS's Kick against another album that I knew I loved and I owned the CD, but I hadn't listened to forever. And as listening to their
I can't believe you're taking this from me.
As listening to their episode, I'm like, wow, that is not only as great as I remember, but better. And I'm taking George Michael's Faith.
You don't get to take that. You sold that album to me, which shows you don't love it
too.
As much as I do. Oh, I left that on the board because I didn't think you'd take it.
Me selling a CD doesn't have anything to do with my feelings on it. It was just a different time in my life.
I'm just saying, you talked about how Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation wasn't appreciated the way it should be. You didn't appreciate it. You sold the album to me. You're guilty.
All right. Anyway, I like my list. I'm killing it. Pete, what's your next pick?
I think I'm doing pretty well, and I'm going to continue that with Purple Rain.
Yeah, I knew you're. Nice. Yeah, you got a good one too.
Dang it.
That was going to be my next pick if it somehow made it, but I knew it wouldn't.
All right. I'm going to go with an album that I listened to repeatedly over and over and over again on the cassette tape, and that is 1984's Born in the USA.
Oh.
Can't go wrong with that choice.
Glory days, baby.
Okay, so that means I am going to turn now to one that I'm going to snipe. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go with my all-time favorite band, REM. Now, so I didn't really get into REM until 1991. So the thing here is these weren't albums that I was familiar with at the time, and I don't know which one to pick. I got two I could pick from here. My personal favorite is Life's Rich Pageant. Otherwise, I could have picked Murmur.
Who did you think you were going to snipe, me or Gifford?
More so you. I bet you'll pick it right now.
I bet I won't. I bet this is going to be a little bit of a surprise pick.
A sneaky favorite.
It's a sneaky favorite, but it's going to be a great pick. I'm going with License to Ill by the
I was going to actually predict that as we were talking.
That's not who you were going to snipe, though?
No, it's not. But as you said it, that was what I turned to in my mind that you were going to pick.
Oh, man, I'm going to go listen to my albums right now. I just love what I picked.
You and me both have a pretty freaking good list here.
Mine Gifford's
got three of the biggest albums in history.
Because I only have Thriller, Born in the USA and Hysteria. Those all suck.
And that's the worst list of the three.
Yeah, exactly. Twitter will say otherwise. All right.
Will.
Oh, man. I've got one ranked higher than the other, but I'm going to switch it around here. I'm going to go with 1989's Like a Prayer.
All right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if I picked a Madonna one, which one would I pick? And I had a hard time deciding.
So many.
And she kind of ended up off I do have her on my list, but I had a different one down. All right, I'm going to close out my list by going to my roots, which is alternative music, and I'm going to pander to, it's a great album, but I'm going to pander to a lot of people that are going to think I'm picking a great choice here. Another Minneapolis band, The Replacements, Let It Be. That's my fifth one. I could save it for last because I knew none of you would pick it.
Oh, you sniped me.
Right. I got one that I know Haken is going to love, and I do like this album too. Master of Puppets.
Wow. So, Pete, you did not pick Full Moon Fever.
No kidding.
No, I did not.
That's the one I was going to snipe from you.
That's what I figured.
Decided to give it to you.
You can have it if you want.
Well, it's too late now. Gifford can have it if he wants it.
Well, first off, I have to apologize to Garth. I'm not going to take him here for his debut album. But I am going to be influenced by the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, and I'm going with Open Up and Say Ah, 1988, Poison.
All right. You've covered the hair bands a little more on yours.
Yep. And I believe Madonna had hair as well, so that's covered.
All right, so let's run through our other options. So I picked REM Life's Rich Pageant, which has Fall on Me and Superman on it, but I could have picked Murmur, their debut, obviously. Prince, I had Purple Rain down, but also could have picked Sign of the Times. I came close on that one. I have Janet Jackson at my number 6 choice here, but I didn't pick it, but we talked about that already. Tom Petty, John Mellencamp, Scarecrow. That was a big one for me. The Footloose soundtrack is one of the first albums. I had it on a record album. I have Madonna, Like a Virgin.
Yep, I had that on my list as well.
Here's one that I kind of forgot about, but Don Henley, Building the Perfect Beast, that had All She Wants to Do Is Dance and The Boys of Summer. Ooh. Fantastic CD. I listened to over and over. Grammy winner Paul Simon, Graceland.
Graceland. Yep, that's one I had on my list.
Chris Isaak had 3 albums in the 80s. Heart-Shaped World, I love. Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation with Angel.
There you go.
You picked Hysteria. I would have picked Pyromania.
I knew, you'd go that way. A lot of people would.
We went through this entire list and we didn't pick 1984 by Van Halen.
Nope.
No.
And Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. I can't believe one of you didn't pick that.
Well, because I went Open Up and Say Ah instead.
These are the ones we didn't pick. Jesus Christ. What else is there? What else do you have?
Well, I got Loked After Dark Just Funky Cold Medina and Wild Thing on it. I mean,
That was
come
huge
on.
for us in middle school. That's
that
for
was
sure.
huge on KISD and out of Pipestone. I mentioned Garth Brooks' debut album. Alabama's 40-Hour Week. I listened to a ton. That was in
Alabama,
85.
just like basically greatest hits of the '80s. They're the 80s country band of '80s country bands, right there.
Yes. I got Bad from
Yeah,
87.
that was the other one I had.
How about Forever Your Girl, Paul Abdul, 1988. A lot of great stuff on there. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I think we've covered it. There's a few REM ones there that you could have done, but everything else, pretty much that I would have taken, we've already talked about.
I had the Footloose soundtrack. Did either one of you have Top Gun down? I'm surprised that didn't get a mention.
Yeah, Playing with the Boys. That's a great song. Danger Zone, but yeah, overall album.
About the only other one I can think of at the moment here. That was a fun list to make, though, and it's amazing some of those that we didn't pick. That was
right.
What a time!
Well, it's
to
like
be alive.
it's like the quotable movies, for crying out loud. I mean, we
True.
could have went through 100 quotable movies.
Gifford,
All right.
you know who makes the best dance music of all time?
Here we go.
If it's not Paul Abdul and Janet Jackson, then it's got to be Preacher Row.
That's right. Here they are.
And they're socially conscious too.
That's true.
That's the end?
That's the end. Good job. Bye.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. Something else in it will be my last. Next time, tell me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.